The Belgian FN FAL rifle, adopted during the Cold War by more than 90 countries, was designed to use the German 7.92 by 33 Kurz cartridge used in the first modern assault rifle. However, the United States rejected it and chose a design based on a World War II rifle. The story of the FN FAL rifle began right at the end of World War II, when military experts around the world started emphasizing the importance of assault rifles, weapons capable of firing in full auto with smaller, more manageable cartridges than traditional rifles. In 1946, the Belgian company Fabrique Nationale de Herstal, or FN Herstal, began developing this new rifle, aiming to combine power, precision, and versatility. In its early stages, the FN FAL was designed to use the German 7.92 by 33 Kurz cartridge, a round developed during World War II for the Sturmgewehr 44, also known as the MP-44, widely considered the world's first modern assault rifle. This cartridge was shorter than typical full-power rifle rounds, making automatic fire much easier to control. It completely changed the game in close to mid-range combat. The FN FAL was designed by Dieudonné Saive, a brilliant engineer who also worked on the FN 49, a rifle chambered in the more powerful 7.92 by 5.7 Mauser. Because of this, the FAL and FN 49 share several mechanical similarities. By the late 1940s, both Belgium and Britain were exploring the idea of using an even smaller cartridge, the .280 British 7 by 43 mm, as part of the ongoing shift toward lighter, easier-to-handle firearms. In 1950, the United States evaluated prototypes of both the Belgian FN FAL and the British EM2, a very advanced bullpup rifle for its time. Even though the FN FAL impressed U.S. military officials, they weren't sold on the idea of an intermediate cartridge. Instead, they pushed for a more powerful round they had developed themselves, known as the T-65. This round eventually became NATO standard as the 7.62 by 51 mm. The American mindset at the time was that a more powerful cartridge meant better range and stopping power, even if that made full auto fire harder to control. Realizing it couldn't compete globally without adapting, FN Herstal redesigned the FAL to chamber the NATO standard 7.62 by 51 mm round. The first models with this cartridge were ready by 1953. That change paved the way for the FN FAL's mass production and adoption by numerous countries, though not without controversy, especially around the U.S. decision not to adopt it. During the Cold War, the United States was in the process of modernizing its infantry weapons to maintain military superiority over the Soviet Union and its allies. Among the rifles being considered to replace the legendary M1, Garand were the Belgian FN FAL and the future American M14, a direct evolution of the M1. In testing, the FN FAL proved to be robust, reliable, and versatile. However, one of the main reasons the U.S. ultimately rejected it was their insistence on using their own cartridge, the T-65, which was later standardized by NATO as the 7.62 by 51 mm round. The U.S. wasn't willing to adopt a rifle chambered in an intermediate cartridge like the British .280, even if it was better suited for modern combat. At the time, U.S. military doctrine emphasized long-range power and heavy firepower, and many in the military were skeptical that a lower-powered round could be effective in automatic fire. So they went with a rifle that used a more powerful cartridge, knowing full well it would be harder to control in full auto. The M14, officially adopted in 1957, retained much of the M1 Garand's design, but chambered the 7.62 by 51 mm round, aligning with the American preference for a more powerful cartridge. However, over time it became clear that this caliber made automatic fire nearly uncontrollable, leading both the M14 and the FN FAL to be used mostly in semi-auto mode. Politics and economics also played a role. The U.S. wanted full control over its weapons manufacturing and wasn't interested in relying on a foreign-made design. There was also the matter of protecting its own arms industry. This experience with heavy rifles and powerful cartridges eventually pushed the U.S. military to shift its doctrine. About a decade later, they moved to the lighter 5.56 by 45 mm cartridge, allowing for lighter rifles, better full auto control, and more ammo per soldier. But that's a story for another time. So in the end, America's rejection of the FN FAL came down to a mix of technical concerns, military doctrine, economic priorities, and political strategy, all of which led to the M14 becoming the standard rifle for U.S. troops. Despite not being adopted by the United States, the FN FAL quickly became a successful weapon worldwide. Canada was the first country to officially adopt it in 1955, producing it domestically under the C1 rifle and C2 light machine gun models. In 1956, Belgian security forces also began producing and using it. The United Kingdom adopted the FN FAL in 1957 under the designation L1A1 self-loading rifle SLR and manufactured it in its own factories, such as the famous Enfield factory. In 1958, Austria incorporated the FN FAL as the STG-58, produced by Steyr. Thanks to its reliability, adaptability, and effectiveness, the FN FAL was adopted by more than 90 countries, earning it the nickname, the right arm of the free world. Although many countries have discontinued its use or production today, its legacy lives on in numerous armed forces around the world. The FN FAL is a gas-actuated automatic rifle with a short-stroke gas piston that cycles the weapon. Depending on the model, it can operate in semi-automatic or fully automatic mode. The rifle uses 20 or 30-round magazines, with the largest capacity used in light machine gun versions. It features a gas regulator that allows adjustment of operation for different environmental conditions and also locks the system for launching rifle grenades. Its charging handle is located to the left of the receiver and remains fixed during firing. Some versions feature folding levers and selector switches with 2 or 3 positions: safe, semi-automatic, and automatic. Regarding materials, the first versions had a wooden stock and fore-end, although metal and plastic materials were later incorporated. Light machine gun versions usually include bipods, and almost all models feature bayonet rails and, in many cases, handles for easy carrying. These features made the FN FAL a versatile, robust, and adaptable weapon for multiple combat scenarios, which contributed to its widespread global adoption. Subscribe to Military Dominion for more videos.